Okay, this video is for the wheel of the train. And this is a little more difficult than some of the other parts, and maybe the most difficult part for the project. Um, but they give us a little cutaway, and we are going to do a revolve of this profile that they've cut away. And if you take it one piece at a time, it's not too hard. Um, Basically, we have a line here that forms the back edge of the wheel, and then a little hole that kind of separates it from the center. But we're going to just draw the wheel without an axle hole, and then we'll cut out the axle hole after. So I'm just going to begin with a line, and the dimension tells me that this line is 1 inch, and I'm going to go to Inventor. And do a new file, standard.ipt. And I'm just going to begin with a line, and I'm going to dimension that line to 1 inch. Now at the end of that line, I have a little curve or an arc, and that arc is 1.25, or has a radius of 1.25. So I'm just going to attach an arc to the end of that line, come down a little ways, click, pull it up, and dimension that to 0.125. Now if I come back to my direction sheet, I now have a line that comes off the other end of that arc, and it doesn't really tell me that dimension, but I can do a simple calculation. The overall distance is 1 inch. The part that I am not drawing is 0.75, so I can just take 1 inch, subtract 0.75, which gives me 0.25. And I'll just draw a line on the end of that arc and dimension it to 0.25. Back to my direction sheet. There is a line. Now the edges are going to be filleted, but right now I'm just drawing perpendicular lines. So I have a line that has to come back halfway to my original line. So I'll draw on the end of that last line I drew and come back halfway across, and I can dimension that, or I can just say when I get my little dotted line that tells me I'm halfway, I'm going to click there. Now back to my direction sheet. I have a line that, again, I don't have a dimension for this line, but I know that it is 0.75 minus this little section, which is 0.25. So 0.75 minus 0.25 is going to be 0.5. So I'll drag a line that is 0.5. And dimension that. Back to my direction. And now I come back out and then do a little short line. That's going to take me back to my original axis point. So I'm going to draw a line here. It comes back out the same distance that I was right there, and then come back to where my starting point was. Okay? Now, again, these little corners are all chamfered. I didn't dimension these two lines. I just brought this line out as far as this line was, and then this line came back to the same point where my starting line was, and I just connected those two. Now I want to go and fill it. Now fill it normally defaults to 0.125, and if I look at my direction sheet, right here it says TYP, which stands for typical, and then it says radius 0.063. So I'm going to round these corners all of them. Typical means unless otherwise noted, they're all going to be 0.063. So fill it 0.063. And now I'm just going to click on each of these corners. And now I'm ready to finish my sketch. And I'm going to revolve. I only have one shape I can revolve. And my axis will be this point right here. Now I've made my wheel. Now my wheel is kind of turned at a funny angle, but if I click on the bottom there, I can actually get a look at what that wheel looks like. And that's the basic wheel.